wasn't going to stream today. Well, let me rephrase. I wasn't going to stream on my channel today because in 50-ish minutes, I will be on the Bandits Keep stream talking to Daniel about Mega Dungeons. But I didn't have anything better to do, and I was kind of setting up my computer stuff, so I thought, why don't I do something with the time on my channel? Kind of consider it a virtual green room to get ready for that stream. I'm not sure how long this will last. 40 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe earlier if Daniel sends me the invite to the so we can get set up on his end. Make sure there's no the coin drops out of my pocket. Make sure there's no quirks in the system. Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, this is pretty much the same settings I used yesterday, so hopefully should be good to go without any setup. So I don't have any topics to cover. Well, I do have topics to cover, but I guess I want to give those some breathing room, let them kind of be on their own. Maybe tomorrow. I'm planning to do one of these streams again, and I will cover one of those tomorrow when I can kind of spend a little bit more prep time, at least in my brain, thinking about them, and I can put the word out. I'm not sure if anyone's even going to show up. Oh, someone is here. Devious Dungeons Painting says, sounds good. Awesome. So I kind of thought I would just kind of surf around. Let me fix my windows here. There we go. Now I'm not there. Now I'm there. I will put the chat, turn the chat overlay on. Bam. All right. So I thought I would I don't know, surf around, see what's going on in the good old OSR Reddit. I appreciate the OSR Reddit. They've been kind enough when I have posted things there to be positive and to be open for discussion. And sometimes I've kind of creator issues. This is what happens when you try to create something. You spend some time, energy, you put it into a work, whether could be a drawing, could be like these videos, could be a podcast, could be anything. And of course, these works are imperfect. Some folks do a tremendous job of making amazing, super polished, wonderful things, and some folks don't. We're all at different levels on our creative journey. We all have different times we can put into things, yada, yada, yada. You'll go to the internet. You will want to share these. Sometimes you want to share them just to share them. Sometimes, yeah, you're trying to promote yourself. Another part of being a creator is you have to just be comfortable with the art of self-promotion, but also the grind of it, just getting out into different Facebook groups, Reddits, groups, subreddits, Twitter, social media, all these different channels, and putting yourself out there. And what happens when you put yourself out there is there are folks that just want to, I just think they just want to take you down a peg for whatever reason. You could put something up that you think is the least offensive thing in the world, the most neutral, just, hey, everybody's awesome. You'll come in, you'll see downvotes. I don't know why these people are downvoting it in places like, places that have a downvoting mechanic like Reddit, right? You can upvote, you can downvote. Theoretically, you're supposed to downvote stuff that is off topic. So if I'm in the OSR Reddit subreddit like I am right now, when I were to post something about hot rod cars, that should be downvoted because it's not within the scope of the subreddit. But that's not usually what happens. People downvote stuff that they, for whatever reason, disagree with. And sometimes it could be disheartening. I know I was disheartened. I would post something in one of the other GM-focused subreddits or forums, and I would think, hey, I think this is decent advice, or at least interesting or worth examining, discussing, and it would just get downvoted. And no responses, nothing saying, oh, I disagree with you completely, nothing, just downvote, downvote, downvote. I don't know why. But the OSR subreddit has been a positive experience. And now I won't say that I've never had stuff downvoted on there. I have. So I've posted stuff, and I'll notice the first couple of votes are downvotes, and then some other folks will come and upvote it so that over time it ends up being positive. And again, I'm not trying to make some statement, all my stuff should be upvoted to the moon, but I am posting stuff that's on topic, and I think at least is interesting, intriguing, worth talking about. So no real reason to be downvoted, but there you are. There are curmudgeons out there. People will downvote you, people who will argue with you on Twitter or Facebook. seemingly just to argue, but this has been a good spot. Let me hit refresh just so I can get the latest and greatest of what's happening there. All right. And I do this not all the time, but fairly often. If you've watched any of my videos, I often will get inspiration for a topic from something I read here. They post lots of good materials. I would say if you don't go on a Reddit, if Reddit frightens you, which it does often because it can just be so all over the place, I think this is a good resource. Let's check out skills D6 dice pool. All right, this is by visual_insurance. And it's got, I'm going to go ahead, take an upvote from my son or daughter, person, kinfolk. Why D6 dice pool? Rolling dice is fun. Changing chance of success by adding, removing dice appeals more than crunching numbers. Not sure I totally agree with that, but hard to argue with the popularity of advantage and disadvantage. Dice pools never reach 100% chance of success. Cumulative chance of success gradually decreases the more skilled you are, which mimics reality. Built-in critical failure / success that scales with skill level. Oh, sound good. All right, let's go. What do you think? To attempt a skill, roll a d6 for each point allocated to a skill. The default chance is 1d6. 6 is a success. Every additional 6 is an extraordinary success. If all the dice add up 1, the roll is a critical failure. And he's got a preview here. I don't know, because I'm screen sharing. I'm not sure where this will open. Okay, it doesn't open, but I will just describe it. It's basically a table that's just showing the dice, the odds, and what it would essentially convert to if you're going to convert it to basically an X in Y chance, right? So if you have one die, right, the odds are basically the same as your default 1d6, which most OSR folks are familiar with. That turns out to be a little bit of shade over 16.5%, and it's basically 1 in 6. When you have 2 dice, you're up to about 30.5%, and that's essentially equivalent to a 1 in 3 chance. There's no equivalence for 3 dice, but you're up to about 42%. 4 dice, you're at almost 52%, and that's about a little bit better than half. And then you get up to 10 dice, and you get to be almost 84%, and that's equal to a 5 in 6 chance. So that is his table to go with it. Let's see what else he's got to say. Starting skills. Demi-humans start with 1 skill point plus int modifier, minimum of 0, and add 1 point at level 4, 7, 10, and 13. Okay, so this is how many skill points, right? Dwarves and elves allocate 2 skill points to hear noise and 2 skill points to search. Halflings allocate 2 skill points to hear noise and 2 skill points to hide / move silently. Oh, Pierre says I spelled stream wrong in the title. Oh, thank you. The horror. I hate when I get typos. And that's something that always bothers me about Twitter. Where's my mouse? Can I change it though? Let's see. Oh, I called it a stram. Oh, my apologies. I invited you to a stram when I meant a stream. Thank you for that. That would have bugged me when I saw it afterwards. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Let's see. Okay, we were about to halflings. We got that. Humans start with 3 skill points plus their int mod and add 1 point. Okay, so this is just how many skill points you get, and they're not. It doesn't look like he's giving us or they are giving us any particular skills, but let's see. He has some notes for climbing. You're gonna roll once per 100 feet. I think that's a decent idea. It's always annoying when you have somebody. You got to climb 60 feet and they make you roll 4 times, and you're just creating a situation where you just have to be lucky to climb this thing. And it's like, well, I have the rope. Why is it so arduous that I need to roll so many times? I mean, obviously if there are circumstances, but oftentimes it's just kind of that roll every 10 feet. And why? Don't do that. All right. Let it ride, they say. Pickpocket on a critical fail, the attempt is noticed. I don't know. That seems like you would almost, if you had any skill in pickpocketing at all, you would never get noticed. So I'm not sure about that. But Your miles may vary, right? It might work for your game. I mean, on the other hand, on the flip side of my like, hey, I think there should be a higher chance of you getting noticed. On the flip side, it does encourage someone to use it because critical failures are going to be less likely. So it does encourage you to use it. Okay, climb, hide slash move silently, pickpocket, reduce chance by 1d6 when being lightly encumbered or wearing chainmail, by 2d6 when being heavily encumbered or wearing plate mail. If chance reduced below 1d6, the attempt fails automatically. Okay, so if you get to zero dice, you just fail. Yeah, I think you could just do 1d6 for light, 2d6 for medium, and 3d6 for plate. Maybe that's too much. Pierre is loving the strem. Yeah. Damn it! Should never live it down. I'll have to change my title. The lunchtime strem of strems. And we have an optional. The referee may allow to roll. May allow a roll even if chance reduced. Okay, so essentially the ref may allow a roll even if the chances have basically gone to 0. In which case, any result other than 6 is treated as a crit fail. All right, so if you're in plate mail but you really need to get in there, you still can try it. Oh, Frederick, piling on here for the strem. Everyone's here for the strem. Well, hopefully you'll be here in 40 minutes for the stream. Though it's not going to be here. It'll be on Bandit's Keep. Then we got some comments. So, so let me know in the chat. What do you think about this? I'm kind of torn. Maybe we could just talk about skills for a minute since we're here. I'm sort of torn on the on skills in sort of OSR gaming. I know the big knock against, which I agree with, is that at a certain point, when you have skills on your sheet, you tend to start looking at your sheet and trying to always go in with what you're good at, which is what these skills say you're good at, than just trying to do stuff. So let's take that climbing example. You have a bunch of skills, one of which is climbing. Okay, I look at my sheet. Oh, I'm bad at climbing. I'm not going to try to climb that. When part of the ethos in some ways of OSR is that really you should just be using your imagination and just going with it. So we want to take care of that, get rid of that climb roll and just let you talk it out. And we'll figure out what to roll from there, which is usually going to give the PC a better chance of doing it than if they had the skill. But let me play a slight devil's advocate. Oh, the strem, the red caps. Oh, you red caps. Someone mentioned there was an open bar at the strem. Where's the bar? Yeah, I'll show you a bar. So the devil's advocate position is sometimes it's nice for the players to feel like they're good at something. And I know what people are going to say. Fighters are good at fighting. Magic users are good at magicking. Thieves are good at thieving. But particularly for the fighter, low levels, you're slightly better than other folks. And it's not something you can really hang your hat on. And it's only in combat. And part of the other OSR ethos is we don't want to be driving people towards combat necessarily. We want people to take other ways. So if you're a fighter, maybe you want to hang your hat on something else, some other talent, quirk, something else that you're good at outside of just fighting stuff. And yes, we could just come up with a ruling. We could come up with something on the fly. The nice thing about skills is that they're dependable and consistent. You look at it, you say, I have a 4 in 6 chance, or a 3 in 6 chance, or a 20% chance. I know what that is. It's not always about, I have to convince the GM and I have to make sort of an argument and I got to do all these things. I just know I can do it. I can climb at 80%. I know that. And it's nice to have those things you can count on. So I think there's probably, for me, I think some middle ground between having 0 skills, and actually I'm fine with zero skills, but I do think that skills can be additive to that kind of system. And when you get to something like 5th edition, where you have a bunch of skills that seem to narrowly define what characters can do. I don't really know what I would do with that. Would I use an out-and-out skill system? I kind of like what Barbarians of Lemuria did, which is you would have backgrounds, kind of jobs that you had. Think Conan, right? Sometimes Conan's a thief, then sometimes Conan's a mercenary, then sometimes Conan's a sailor, and he can call upon all these different backgrounds. So you would read an adventure of Conan, and he's not a sailor at the time, but he can navigate in the desert because he remembers back when he was a sailor and the positions of the stars that he had to learn because he was helping out the navigator. So he can figure out which way is west, even though it's night and whatever, right? I kind of like those things. They have some elements of skills where you can look at that and say, I have this sailor background, therefore I know certain things. But they also keep intact that idea of they are as inclusive or narrow as you and your GM agree to. So you would say, hey, I'm a sailor. Does that help with navigation? And then you and the GM have a conversation, and then something is rolled. I like that a lot. And definitely for a swords and sorcery kind of episodic game in which you might have lots of downtime where you are taking on other jobs that aren't adventuring, I think that's a really cool fit. I saw some subs hit the chat, so let me look in the chat. Let's see. All right. First, no fun allowed. I'm beginning to write my first mega dungeon now. I've been absorbing a lot on mega dungeon philosophy recently. Well, that's great. Well, I'm not going to be talking about mega dungeons just yet. And actually, I've said this to Daniel. I think if you watched the stream I had with Daniel, or maybe I didn't, maybe we did it off the air, so to speak, but I'm actually not a big expert on mega dungeons. I've read a fair share of them. I've actually never run them. So really, this is going to be a lot about me kind of pinging and trying to sort of get some stuff from Daniel, because I know that he's done a lot with mega dungeons on his channel. I do have some, input on it, just sort of in general, but I'm really more going to be really riffing off of his experience in both, I guess, participating in dungeons. I don't know if he's done them as players, but definitely in as far as designing and running them as a GM. The Red Caps also says it's a fine balance for sure. Perhaps instead of skills, characters' previous jobs, life history gets equated to skills. Yes, absolutely. The Red Caps will only say the same thing, exactly how I would do it. Yep. Yeah, I definitely like the occupations. This is another reason why I like a lot of downtime, because then players have these gaps that are built in to learn other trades, to go off and do something that doesn't, it's not a leveling thing. Right. But that they can go, and you can actually make it mechanical. You could tie it into experience. You could say, hey, you can go to the navigational school for a month. It's going to cost this much experience. And you'll come back and you'll have, 1 pip in navigation, or 1 pip, or whatever, however you want to define it in basic sailoring. And then that, you can go from there. No Fun Allowed says, I've run plenty of hex crawls. Maybe you and I could make a video on that. Yeah, sure. I'm open to it. I'm trying to do more of these streams, as you've noticed, and doing them as time allows. And I definitely want to make more hex crawling stuff. This is where you guys really, folks who interact with me via Twitter, Facebook, chat, wherever, I need inspiration. It's hard sometimes for me to get a gauge on what kind of stuff people need as far as videos and content. So if you're watching this, listening to this in podcast form, if you're in the chat right now while I'm streaming and you've got topics, drop them in there. I do try to read everything I get, and I'm still small enough that I can do that and actually respond to everybody. I mean, I guess it'd be first world problems if it got to be so big that I didn't have a chance to get to everybody and write back a response, or at least read it, but I'm not there. So I'm happy to do that. Let's see. The Red Caps also said lots of downtime also allows you the ability to have flashback one-shot type game if certain members of the table miss a game or something. Yes. Though on that, I put myself in the very all the games I've played in, all the GMs have been very flexible. Usually we'd have a quorum number, which was the minimum number of players to play. And let's say if we had six players in the whole group, normally I think if 3 of them showed up, we would game. And the people who didn't show up, and I actually like this approach. And I know people say, like, oh, it's not immersive. It's not immersive enough. I've never had this be a problem with immersion. It's a game. Sometimes you say, hey, it's a game, so I'm not going to. I like it. I don't like it when one other PC is controlling my PC. I don't like it. I'm pretty particular about what I want my PCs to do in various situations. I don't want somebody else just, put him in the front line, because that's where you would go. No, or whatever. If I don't want to, putting me in danger or doing something. And I wouldn't want to as a player. I don't want to take somebody else's character because I don't want to make that choice. And if I put them in harm's way accidentally and they get killed, like, it's on me. Like, no, I want a character's fate to be on the player who played them, not on somebody else playing them, whether that's the GM, whether that's another PC. I like to do PC basically hides behind a molecule. I think I got that from Dirk Gently. They're out of sight, out of mind. Hey, look over there. And then they're gone. And whatever happens during that session, they don't participate. And if it's good, if it's bad, if it's ugly, they don't get it. So if on that session they missed, you run into the horde of all hordes, they don't get it. If on the other hand, you're looking at the horde of all hordes and you forgot that the ancient red dragon is standing behind you and breathes fire and everyone fails their save and you die, that character lives. He was somewhere else, and when we'll put him somewhere, and we'll restart. So that's how I like to do that as far as characters. Frederick said, "Bought me some books on drive-thru. You should be able to access after midnight." Wow, thank you so much. I've enjoyed the books, the other books you've got, and I still need to do a couple of them. Let me see if that's the last of the chat. So yeah, back to the D6 dice pool. I like dice pools. Has anyone ever used dice pools? Shadowrun back in the day, are they still a dice pool system? I think I had first edition or second edition Shadowrun. I can't remember. At this point, I'd probably have to look at the cover art to confirm. But they used dice pools. It was fun, but the one problem with dice pools is you end up with a ton of dice. I know if we're online now, that problem goes away because you're just doing, I don't know, whatever the math, you just have to figure out the programming lingo for best, whatever, how many successes out of however many dice. So it kind of minimizes that. But in person, it can be a bit of a bore rolling all those dice. I'm not sure I agree. I think people do like doing the math if it's positive. I never had a problem going, ooh, and I get +2 from this. And I get +1 from that. Oh, he's got me +1 from here. I think people enjoy that when they go like, wow, I got +8 to that roll. Like that, boom, that just feels impressive. Not that putting 8 dice on the table doesn't feel impressive, but different people are going to go with different ways. So let's see. Ovaltine Patrol says Vampire the Masquerade, I think, has a dice pool. All right. You get plenty of D6s in Forbidden Lands. I still have to finish that Forbidden Lands thing, so I apologize for that. I only have the PDFs. I don't have their physical box, so I have no idea how many D6s come with it. Let's see. Mini 6 is a great OSR. Yeah, I like D6-based systems. I think the one that usually comes to mind first is West End Games Star Wars, which is D6-based. It's a nice system, and I've gone back and forth on kind of my, what do you call it? You're on a Heartbreaker RPG, whether I want to do like a 2D6 or 3D6 rolling mechanic versus a D20. I go back and forth. The Red Caps asks, have you ever done anything with Hex Flower charts? Goblin's Henchman is where I first heard of it. Interesting way of having reactive tables. I have seen a lot of Hex Flower type stuff. People have been doing them for all kinds of things. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like those kinds of visualizations. I just think they're really neat because they just give you a different way of looking at things, different ways of building relationships. I like the kind of stuff that gives you what they call the drunkard's walk, where you can kind of create these paths through things that just can open up different possibilities. I think that stuff is neat, and it's I don't play on Roll20, I don't play all these things, but I would hope that a lot of these different ways of visualizing chance or randomization could really be built in, so you could do stuff like have a Hex Flower type mechanic that you could populate in something like Roll20 and then have stuff go on there and even visualize it to the players if it is player facing. I always think about in person, if I ever get back to gaming in person, having a lot of the stuff that you could put on a board and kind of have out in the middle as sort of the almost giving it almost a board gamey kind of feel. I've thought a lot about what elements of board gaming you could bring into OSRs, or not OSRs specifically, but just tabletop role playing in general. Kind of just add some different flavors. But yeah, Hex Flowers are cool. Let's see. Red Caps also says a cool bell curve you can roll is 46 and turn all the 6s into 0s. You get a perfect bell curve from 0 to 20. I did not know that. That's really cool. I'll have to look at that further. That's pretty neat. 6s into 0s. The only thing I would say I don't like that is just the mentality of 6s being bad. I always like when 6s are good. And whenever I see stuff in OSR, I flip them. So I think of random encounters as being bad. So like in the wilderness, they usually do like 6 in the fields is a random encounter. I flip it and use the 1. I don't know. And I think as a player too, I like to be consistent. Also, I don't know as a player. Sometimes it's good that you're high. Sometimes it's good that you're low. But that's really cool. I have to check into that further. 46, turn all the 6s to 0s, and you get a perfect bell curve. Wow. What you need to do is make some custom dice that's from 0 to 5, and then run with that bell curve thing. That would be very cool. Did you just add them up otherwise? So I guess 5. Oh yeah, 5 times 4 is 20. Yeah, that's kind of Brillogs. I like that. I like that very much. All right, well, let's see what else is going on in the old OSR. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize I wasn't sharing I got to figure out how to do this. I wasn't sharing the right tabs. So you guys weren't able to see that skills thing I was reading. Well, it's a good thing I was reading it because you guys couldn't see it. I wonder if I can do something so that it opens on the same page and open into new pages all the time. Here we go. All right. Do I need to save something? Save. Can I go back to OSR? All right. Now, hopefully this time it should work. Okay, that was skills D6 dice pool. Wow, it's already almost 22. All right. Well, let's see. Daniel has not sent me an invite, I don't think, to the chat yet. So I'm still good to go. All right. Okay, we got a retro RPG review. That's a YouTube video. So not that I don't want to give them a click and a thumb up. I'll check that out later. Descent into the depths of the earth, but try to just stick to stuff that's low barriers to entry. How to represent a highly vertical overworld map. Is this a question or advice? This is from Kitchen Ace, Kitchen_Ace. I'm trying to figure out how to map out a large country-sized underground complex for a sci-fi game, where the scale is at 6 mile hex level, but there are also several miles of height differentials, possibly overlapping areas. Most systems I've seen, they use a lot of verticality, end up going with a sort of abstract point crawl where distances are measured in travel time rather than linear space. For a highly structured area like I'm thinking of, this seems kind of unsatisfactory. It doesn't convey the sense of purpose or scale that a regular hex map would, but maybe if the individual points are overlaid on a proper map, I could do a regular overhead map with distances between hexes measured in travel time that factors in long climbs up or down, possibly several layers of maps over top of one another. This might get kind of messy, but seems like it could be a good compromise. Fully detailing everywhere at a dungeon scale level is way too much work and also pretty unnecessary if most of the travel through the complex is relatively uneventful. Any other ideas or examples? Let me see. No fun allowed. I want to pivot more of my content to the OSR, but 5E keeps me busy. I hear you, man. So hey, no fun allowed. Drop me a link to what you do. Maybe we can do something. I'm always torn, I don't have any answers. Oh, so before I go into a tangent like I want to do, I don't have any. Does anyone have any advice for vertical overworld maps? I would have thought just do layers and maybe have points that are connected that are reachable, and some kind of symbol, maybe kind of like levels of a dungeon. Just say, hey, this is this far up and this high. I think verticality is something that's often missing. That's where you get that sort of classic Janelle Jacazing of the maps, where she was really good at adding these vertical, interesting spaces. And I've had fun in my games with vertical spaces where appropriate. I mean, sometimes they're not appropriate, and that's fine. But oftentimes you can really adding that verticality definitely adds a dimension. And especially when you're at levels where a lot of the PCs don't have stuff like, oh, I can just levitate, oh, I can just fly, oh, I can just cast Featherfall. It really puts a different sense of danger and tension into things when hazards or creatures or anything could be coming not only from just in front or behind or the cardinal directions, but up or down. Let's see. Frederick says the old hexagon system of hexes inside hexes. Yep, that would work too. Make a Metroidvania map for the dungeon. Yeah, you could do something isometric, right? Isometric would work, I think. Redcap says, I think that person is likely better with point maps. They said there was a lot of nothing in the map. Having more abstraction there is likely better. Yeah. Point crawls, that's probably what they're good for. I would say you could do a combo point crawl and hex map, right? When you get in that point that's interesting and you want to detail it more, and where you don't, use a point crawl system. I think that the system down crawl that I did a stream on a while back had a lot of stuff for underground traveling around, which is cool. I don't know if it would exactly match up with what this person's looking for, but some different things there. Oh, I was saying about, so I was going to say Redcaps got me, or no, it was No Fun Allowed that kind of got me on the tangent of, as a creator, OSR versus 5e. My heart's with OSR. It's what I grew up on. It's what I've been able to come back to thanks to the kind of the digital revolution of content and the actual original OSR of kind of shedding light on them and making those materials available in places like drive-through, making them making a marketplace that for them. 5e is obviously the huge thing right now, and I do feel sometimes as a creator trying to bring attention to stuff that I do, that hitting on 5e or 5e friendly topics sometimes, I just feel drawn to it. I mean, it is the big thing going on right now. So you want to, how can I try to siphon off some of that energy for, to get some of that, in my own direction. I've been doing it a lot less recently. I'm sure folks have noticed. Oh, let's see. Hold on. Hoosier Larry says, sounds like a combination of isometric and topographical style mapping may work. Yeah, that might work too. But I've been doing it a lot less recently, and I've just found that I haven't played it in a while. I've been reading the books and stuff, but I haven't played it. So my practical information on 5e is a little bit old at the moment. I'm not down with the meta, and the stuff that I think seems to be important to a lot of the 5e community is not important to me. I don't care about optimization. I don't care about the top 10 spells or the bottom 10 spells or which builds are the best. This is the things that I could care less about. I do not care. And I find that the stuff that I would most want to maybe communicate about 5th edition is kind of the same stuff I would communicate about OSR, because even when I'm playing or running 5th edition, my mindset is that mindset that's basically been shaped by my OSR play. So the kind of game that I would run in 5th edition is not going to be very dissimilar from the game I would run in BX, other than I'd have to just account for all the stuff that 5th edition characters have, right? And those, but other than that, the core, the spirit of it would be basically the same. But I totally understand why, creators would look to 5th edition. It's where the attention is. It's where the a lot of the opportunities are. But lately, I've just been sticking to more OSR topics. And frankly, as a community of you guys and gals and whoever that have interfaced with me tend to be more interested in OSR. So I'm listening to my audience, which seems to be more OSR, into sandbox play, all that stuff. So, I'm finding, it's been a while, a journey of me trying to figure out where's my place in the universe of tabletop role-playing games. And I kind of think I've found it. So I'm just trying to sit in there. But there will probably still be things in 5th edition that will pull my attention, and I may, talk about them. But let's see what's going on in the chat. You can put 5e compatible on it, but just write with system neutral. Yes, you certainly can. That's what I want out of my mega dungeon. Make it OSR compatible with a 5e compatibility. Yeah, the one. The only issues as far as things, and this has probably been solved by people, and I just haven't thought about it enough. But OSR, and it's really hard. I know I made a thing about what is OSR in 2021, and I really find it difficult to even talk about OSR now, because you could say it and it can mean so many different things now to different people, that at one point I felt like if I said I was talking about OSR, there were certain core mechanics and things that I feel like, okay, people are going to be on that wavelength. But I think now that OSR is so broad that I can't even really say, what I was going to say was, hey, an OSR, time as a mechanic is something that is important. I don't know in every OSR game if time as a mechanic is so important, but my baseline of OSR is BX or the white box, the 3 brown books, in that kind of range. And for them, they have specific time. Time is that big gear that is turning all the other little gears. 5th edition doesn't have that. And not only does it not have it, it doesn't really encourage it. And I suppose as a GM then, or as a creator, if I was going to write a mega dungeon that was 5th edition compatible, I would need to write those mechanics for them, or at least one version of them, and then hopefully impress upon a GM that, hey, you need to use these. Maybe there's a book that's done it. I have somewhere. I have Dungeon of the Mad Mage, things like that. I should probably check those out to see how wizards and their writers have how they've tried to retune dungeon crawling, or kind of really extended dungeon crawling in the 5e world, where the only time stuff that's important is your short rest, long rest, which to me isn't enough. But I'd have to do some more. I'd have to do some digging around on it. Let's see. Red Cap's reply to No Fun Allowed. A rising tide raises all boats. Yes, that is true. 5th edition does bring folks in the hobby. I would never just besmirch. I hate the edition wars at this point. I would never besmirch 5th edition. Whatever people will play. And I will say that for some people, 5th edition is actually easier to learn than the OSR. I've heard this from several people. I've had this experience myself with teaching people who have a little bit of 5e experience and 0 OSR experience. Some of the things that we really like, those quirks of OSR mechanics, actually can backfire in terms of teaching them. And this is why I've gone back and forth again on my kind of heartbreaker OSR of whether to do a kind of target 20 type of mode. Obviously, I didn't invent that. If you're not aware of target 20, I'm sure Frederick or someone else in the chat can put the source out there if you recall. But it basically, you're making standard D20 type rolls. And in this case, your target number is always 20. You maybe add modifiers to it. You roll dice, and you're going to get to 20 or above. The D20 system, starting whatever the 3rd edition, whenever they went to the kind of straight up D20 through now, it is easier to grok from someone just because they know they're rolling the same kind of die all the time, and it's got the same sort of. They're looking at the same kind of math, same kind of thing for everything. When you go back to OSR and this is X and 6, this is percentage, this is roll above, this is roll below. It's confusing. It's not confusing to me because I've had it more or less in my brain for 30 some odd years. So for me, it's like, what's the big deal? This is X and 6. This is roll under this. This is roll over that. For a new person coming to it, as much more complicated as I see 5th edition, that just having a standard mechanic that everything is going to default to, we can complain that it's less flavorful. We can complain that we miss the quirkiness, but from just a pure teaching perspective, I really do think at this point, I have to admit, I didn't think it for a long time, but I've had to admit now that yes, that core mechanic is easier. And so not only does whatever you want to say about 5th edition, how just much more attention it's gotten, for a lot of people, it is easier to pick up than your standard OSR game. Troika, for instance, which I will do a video talking about, and I played in that one shot a while back. It's great, but it's got 2 mechanics that go in opposite directions. If you're rolling to do a skill just yourself, you're rolling under a number. But if you're opposed, now you're rolling above a number, or so you're going negative one way, positive the other way. And I remember when I was playing it, I just didn't get it. Not that I couldn't pick it up or I didn't understand it. I just don't know why you would do that. I'm sure there's some reason where they want to go, oh, look, but you're competing. So I get it. And maybe the philosophical is when you're in your skill, you're trying to sort of be within your skill level. So you're rolling below. Was this within your skill to achieve? But then you're trying to out achieve somebody else. So you're rolling above. But I think when we're playing that game and every time we're doing a skill, someone, or a check, we're saying, well, is this a roll above? Is this roll below? It's just needless confusion. And I don't think whatever philosophical cleverness is in there is worth the confusion. Got some more chat messages. Let's see. Blue Hack will be perfect, but for the charge end rules, I haven't looked at it. I'll have to look at Blue Hack. That's why, I got to fly in here. That's why I teach newbies Black Hack or Blue Hack. Yeah, I have the Black Hack, and I looked a long time ago at their, I don't know if it's that long ago, at their Hex Crawl procedures. I have not looked at how they do their dice rolling, so I'll have to check that out. Might be worth looking at. Red Cap says they got to run. I'll catch the things afterwards. Great. Thank you very much for joining. Never let your caps dry out. That is true. Let's see. Barrow Maze is a good example. Barrow Maze is a mega dungeon for Labyrinth Lord, and the creators made a 5e version of it too. Yeah, I have Barrow Maze. I think I got the Labyrinth Lord version. I'm someone when if there's two versions of something, unless they're giving me both of them, I'll take the OSR version. I figure I can do whatever conversions I need to from there. I like Barrow Maze. I have to go back and read that again. Maybe I'll do that on the channel. I don't know if I have the PDFs though. I think I might have the physical editions. And I got to figure out how I could set up a camera to do one of those. I had a long time ago. I had it set up. If you look at some of my really old videos, I've got somewhere I'm doing kind of the camera pointing down at stuff, and I need to just a lot of stuff in my setup has changed. I need to figure out how to get that part of the setup remade, reconfigured, so that I can do stuff like do read-throughs and things of physical books that I might not have PDFs for. Frederick says Ironwood Gorge is a mega dungeon that takes place above ground mostly. I'll have to check that one out. Who makes Ironwood Gorge? Is that somebody? Is that a big publisher or little guy? All right, we're at 150 dose. Let's see. Oh, look at that. It's on Twitter. My typo is on Twitter, damn it, where I cannot edit it. The Strem pre-stream. All right, no, let's see, nothing yet from Bandit's Keep, so I presume I'm going to send him a message. Send me the link whenever you're ready. All right. But I'll probably wrapping up any minute now. Oh, let's see. Oh, here we got a good. All right, here's something we can dig our claws into for a hot minute or three. OSE versus or AD&D second. All right. Here we go. 2 OSR RPGs enter. Only one shall leave. No Fun Allowed says the 3 mega dungeons by that creator are great. Barrow Maze, Forbidden Caverns of Archaea, and Highfell, the Drifting Dungeon. He's also making a 4th one as well, Dwaro Deep. I have Archaea 2 that I got a long time ago, and I haven't read it yet. All right, I think I flipped through it. So I got to go back and do those. And if again, I have it in physical. Well, part of the things I'm interested in, but I like to do the readings on the channel because I like it and it gives me something to do and stream. But that's another physical book. So I got to get my setup fixed. And oh, you fly, you're going to drive me nuts, aren't you? Oh wait, so did I miss a question? All right, hold on, Devious. Let me find your question. Thank you for the reminder. Scrolling up. All right. How do you handle when the character set up camp watches while resting? For example, do you roll for each character's watch to see if there's a counter or a single roll? Okay, so are we talking in the dungeon or are we talking in the wilderness? Because my answer will be different. All right. And this will be the last one because I just got my link. And that means I won't get to read about this person's OSE versus AD&D second. Let's see. Did I get Devious Dungeon Painting? Did you respond? So, okay, well, I'll just cover both of them. Okay, both. In the wilderness, I usually have that night check. So if you caught my video yesterday, I talked about hex crawling, and I said, okay, I'll roll once during the day and once at night. Where that one at night shows up, sometimes it's just a matter of feel. Sometimes I'll roll like 2d6 and figure out where that is on a clock. And then that'll be where it happens. So then it's more or less who is at watch, right? If they say, okay, I roll and I say, oh, it's going to be at 2 a.m. Then I try to figure out, well, who's on, depending on when they go to sleep, like second watch, maybe. Or maybe I'll roll, or I could just, if I'm pretty sure, and some of it also too is going to be, what did I roll? If I roll something like, I don't know, a giant vampire bat, let's say, I might say, okay, that's not going to come in the dusk. Maybe it's going to come in the late night. Or maybe I'll decide it comes in the dusk. If it comes in the dusk, then it would happen at dinner time and it wouldn't be during watches, but it comes in the depths of the night, the deepest depths of the night. Then I'll just roll to see. I might roll, if there's 3 guys and there's 3 PCs, they're split up the shifts. I'll roll 1d6, 1 to 2, it's guy 1, 1 to 2, it's lady 2, 1 to 3, it's them 3, third, and then figure it out that way. In the dungeon, they need to be very careful about resting. I think it's a little bit of a I don't want to say misnomer, but that's not it. I believe it is in that first whichever dungeon is it, Into the Depths of the Earth, where one of the very early beginner dungeons that Gygax states that the party can rest in the dungeon, that it wasn't absolutely verboten to rest in the dungeon, that you could do it. And I don't remember if he actually puts any kind of mechanic in there for it, or if he just leaves that to our interpretation as GMs. So in the dungeon, I'm usually depending on the dungeon, right? If I'm just going by road, it's once an hour. So if you have 8 hours of rest, that's 8 rolls. And then I will adjust that basically, again, fictional positioning. I'll adjust that based on what the party does, where they are doing it. Is there somewhere that's just really tailor-made for being able to hunker down and hide? Are they trying to rest in the broom closet of a busy hotel? Probably not going to make it very far. Are they in a ruin or somewhere else where maybe they could find a corner, and maybe they could figure out some way to bar the door or hide themselves? So I will let them adjust it. But other than that, I'm going to start off in that, okay, it's once an hour, maybe more, depending on what this place is like, taking into account if they've cleared the place out or not, or what's going on. And then they're going to have to figure out locations and tactics to offset and change that base chance. Let's see. Oh, he likes the idea. Great. All right. So I got to jet because I'm going to be on momentarily at Bandit's Keep. Thanks all you guys for jumping in. I wasn't sure anybody was going to actually show up because I didn't schedule it. I didn't have what I thought would be an eye-popping topic. It was just, hey, I'm just hanging out. So I appreciate everybody hanging out. Obviously, I see there's a bunch of people still here. So in maybe 12 minutes, or go ahead and get set up now, head over to Bandit Keep's YouTube channel. If you go to my channel and you go to the community tab, you'll see where I talked about that, hey, I was going to be there. And then in a comment to that post, there was a link, I believe, to the stream. So head on over there, grab some refreshment. We're going to talk mega dungeons. So kind of in a way, I will be right back, but on his channel, not over here. So see you soon. And if I don't see you or talk to you later, have a great day. Game on. Now, how do I close it out? Here we go.